Welcome to the Natural Parents Podcast, where we will cover all things faith, health, family, and wealth through a biblical perspective of putting things in life that matter most back into order. We're reminded in Matthew 6:33, where Jesus said, "But seek first the kingdom of God and all of his righteousness, and all of these things will be added unto you." Join us each week as we focus on what truly matters most in this life and passing those values on to the next generation. This is the Natural Parents Podcast with Ryan and Abbie Hukin. Next, rest.
Yeah.
How you feel about that one, Abbie?
I do feel like I'm better.
Yeah.
I get a lot more, like once your kids get a little bit older, you know, my baby, he'll be 4, but he still crawls in my bed and I'm okay with that, but
He's a good sleeper, though.
Yeah, he's a good sleeper. All of our kids really are.
Yeah.
Once they're not breastfed, like, you know, wanting, like they didn't require my calories from me. But really, it gets better. But it's still, as a parent, you're just up and I feel like your mind just goes, thinking about them a lot. But
and that probably will never go away. Like I said, when we get old, the kids get older, maybe our rest gets better. Maybe it doesn't, because we stress about other things. But what we can do is better prepare for our rest, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I talked
magnesium.
We can give our bodies good supplements that help with that. The biggest thing I know so many people struggle with because of the world and the connectedness that we have is we can't have blue lights going into our eyes telling our body that it's daylight.
Yeah.
Right? Confusing our brain. So the way the circadian rhythm works is when the sun comes up, melatonin levels go down, right? And so now our melatonin is at this real low level because the sun is rising and we're allowing, so sunglasses don't allow melatonin to properly do its rhythm. So be mindful of that. I'm not saying never wear them. Just make sure you get some sunlight.
He was on me yesterday about this.
That's what the tap was about.
I was like, is it right?
If nothing else, a sunrise into your eyeballs before you put your sunglasses on them, because it tells your circadian rhythm that, okay, this is what's going on. Sun's coming up. We got to drop melatonin levels down. And then as the sun goes through its rhythm and starts to go down, melatonin levels start to climb. And if we put blue light into your eyeballs without sunglasses on, right at that time before we're supposed to be going to bed and the sun is supposed to be going down, guess what? Your melatonin is going to be all thrown off and your brain is not going to know what time it is. And so how many times do we talk with parents and they're like, oh, my kids don't sleep. I'm like, tell me about their nighttime routine. Well, TV and then bedtime, we'll just let them watch one show. And again, I'm not here to tell you that you're evil, because if you do that, I'm just saying, let's be mindful of it.
There are other options, though.
If that's there.
That little thing called Little Tykes?
Oh, yeah.
And it's a
projector,
but it looks like it's like from the 90s. So I think that's why I really liked it.
Oh, yeah.
And you just put in the little book and it projects on, and so I don't think it's blue light, but it's just a story that then it's like as if a book were on there and they were flipping the pages and they were reading the story with it. And so it tells the story, like they have the little Berenstain Bears, and we have like a couple other ones about a dog and a boy and all kinds of different stuff. Maybe a good option if they're used to something to wind down, that could be.
For sure. But then also, if those aren't gettable because that was hard to find, read a book, to the kiddos. Or again, like if you go into the science of this, I joked about the HVAC system being a detriment to human health.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it really was. I promise I was kidding. Light bulbs start to question the circadian rhythm. And I promise we have light bulbs. I'm just saying we've got to do things. They make red light bulbs. So you can actually put a light bulb softer light. So it's warmer. It's a warmer light. It doesn't have the same UV capacities that's going to trigger the melatonin release or alter the melatonin utilization of your brain. So super something to be mindful of. Also melatonin, while I'm on that, melatonin is a hormone. Yeah. So just if you're not sleeping super well, this would be a recommendation is maybe don't just start taking melatonin. Get your melatonin levels checked. Follow them throughout a 24-hour period and see what's going on with them. Let's not just take melatonin as a supplement or just give melatonin as a supplement to our children when they might not need it.
Yeah, just don't start there. And all of these things, it's not like you have to follow every single thing to a T. However, it will help your body just be more, everything will come easier if you start making some of these changes, like with the lights and with the screen time and with the different things like that, and just naturally help your body be able to get into a better rhythm and adaptability and rest and all of the things. So
none of us are perfect at all 7. I can promise you that. I'm not.
No.
Rest is probably my least best, not because I don't sleep like a brick whenever I do sleep. It's just
He's a child.
I don't like to go to bed.
Sleep. He's like, I don't want the day to be over.
Yeah. I enjoy my days. I don't want them to be over.
Next up on our pillars of health are two very important ones that I think definitely one of them gets overlooked in the busy culture that we are all kind of inserted into and made to just conform to feel like we are going to survive.
Yeah, I'd say one is overlooked and two is undervalued. And
Yes.
so, as the title of this podcast would suggest, these are the unsung heroes of our vitality. We're talking today all about the importance of hydration and rest if you truly want to be a super healthy human. If you guys remember, we've got 7 pillars of vitality. They are in particular order: adaptability, detoxification, nutrition, hydration, rest, mindfulness, and movement. And today we're going to talk about 2 major ones that I think will be crucial for you guys to be able to take and run with towards your health.
Yeah. I didn't realize until probably a couple years ago that our bodies detox a lot whenever we sleep. And so, when you wake up in the morning, starting your day with water and preferably electrolytes or something like that is really good, just to help flush that in your body and not just diving right in with coffee, which is definitely something I have to force myself to do before I
like to do.
get to the coffee.
Well, I think you bring up a good point, how these two actually do go hand in hand. I do think they're separate pillars as the construct aligns with, but I do think they do go so hand in hand. We've talked about that previously in the detoxification podcast, but when we rest well at night, our body goes into a rhythm of cleansing itself of the toxic buildup from the day. Sure, I'm talking about like the toxins of the world, sometimes the foods we eat, the air we breathe, the drinks we drink, the things we do, right? But there's also just byproduct toxin from every cell inside your body as it's burning energy, right? So it has all of these byproducts that have to be cleansed from your body, and God saw it fit to set us up in such a way that we'd work with the rhythm of nature and the sun and all this kind of stuff. And when we sleep well at night, when our body is also properly hydrated, we can actually use our liver and then our kidneys to pull those toxins out and get rid of them in the morning, right? And so,
you know how crazy it is? Like, so the circadian rhythm, right? Like when you're supposed to get up with the sun and go to bed with it when the sun goes down. And just thinking back to whenever I worked as a nurse and in working nights, and I felt like I was closer to dead than alive.
Probably took years off your life.
It did. I hear that there's a statistic that says it's like 7 years or something if you work, nights. So if you work nights,
don't be offended.
Be applying for that day job.
Just know that if that's the one pillar that you don't nail out of the 7, let's do the other 6 really, really well.
And some people handle nights really well. I didn't. I felt sick a lot, and then just the other. But anyways.
Again, coming back to hydration, we've all heard it said, different stats I think get thrown out there and stuff, but I do think statistically speaking, the numbers around about 60% of the entire human body is compromised of water. And so there's tons of benefits to proper hydration. I love when the like our parents' generation, right? Like I was having this conversation with my dad the other day. It's so weird, but they'll resist anything that's good, solid information, to be honest with you. He's like, what is all this about drinking water all the time? He's like, when I was a kid, we never had to worry about drinking water. Like it was like, you went outside and you played and you did whatever. And it was just weird that he was having this conversation with me on the phone. I don't know what else we'd been talking about prior, but I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't know. And then it was just funny. But like, it is sound evidence and advice to have proper hydration in our body. No, do I think it was something that was as pressed? Like I did say this to that conversation. I have heard that the first ever water bottle company was, I think it's Evian or something, which is naive backwards. And so, we bottle this up, sell it to people, all these different things. And I do think there's a bit of a craze like to that from a marketing standpoint and stuff like that. But good hydration is very important, no doubt.
Yeah, and it's better to do it, before you need it versus waiting until a day you're like super tired, you have a headache, you have brain fog, and you're like, oh wait, did I drink any water yesterday? And not we could do a whole thing on quality water, but making sure that you're drinking clean water, filtered water, remineralized water, things like that is, of course, so important. So always look into that, especially if you're on your city's water or you're drinking, tap water, whatever that may be. I don't even like to drink water at restaurants. I will drink it, but if it tastes weird, if it tastes really just yucky, we call it toilet bowl water. Like my kids are like, ew. Like I will go get their waters from the car that we fill up at home, and that'll be that. We'll just have their big old jugs of water sitting there.
Well, it's hard, but I do say all the time, you either drink, filtered water or your body's the filter. Like your body will filter out the toxins and the yucky stuff.
As long as everything else is open the right way it should be.
Not to mention, I mean, one of the crazy things in our world, one of the top prescribed medications in the United States is like a version of levothyroxine or Synthroid. It's synthetic thyroid medication. And we have water that's riddled with both fluoride and chlorine. And those can both kind of mimic, because of their positioning on the periodic table of elements, like they can mimic the role that iodine or iodide would play in your body, which impacts the thyroid. And so all these different things, right? And so now we start to have a big toxic buildup issue with the water that we're drinking. And so filtered water or not, you choose.
If you can't remember what the periodic table even has on it, raise your hand. You're over here quoting it.
You're so mean.
This is some practical tips, I guess.
Somebody out there really appreciated that perspective.
They did, but they did.
Thank you.
You did a good job. So, of course, like, I guess, the saying that half your body weight in ounces is a good, rule for daily water intake. And, we said starting your morning with a glass of water, and electrolytes is definitely important. And if you don't have an electrolyte powder, we love Pickleball. It's now called Potassium Cocktail, which I don't think is a name upgrade, but we're going to go with it.
Rebrand.
Yes. And if you don't have that on hand, I am a big advocate for, salt on your tongue and drink that down just to get that sodium in. That really helps to drive it into the cell. You can do coconut water, just different options like that. There's lots of good options just to help really get that water into the cell. That's important. You can drink water all day and maybe not be hydrated if you're not having enough sodium. Of course, this is not medical advice. If you've been told to eat low sodium, you should consult your doctor first.
Message us. We'll talk about it. I've heard this on the water thing. So, okay, if I go down this rabbit hole, you're going to say I'm being way too sciencey. But there's this thing called osmolarity. That's just how water transfers based on like what's in it, right? And so you have all these phases of water. People talk about solid, liquid, gas, right? So solid water is ice, liquid's obviously water, and then there's air. Well, people, okay, not just me, will talk about the fourth phase of water, and they call it gel water, which is effectively water with something in it. So this is like coconut water, electrolyte, drink powder mixes, lemon water. Like we always joke, like, yeah, I'm healthy, I drink lemon water, right? Like stuff like that. If you put a little, cucumber, something like that in the water, your body actually will absorb it better. And then there's this massive misnomer that if your pee is anything but clear, you're dehydrated. And that couldn't be any further from the truth, really, because what you want to be happening in your body is that your body is pulling toxins, utilizing water and hydration to filter those toxins through your kidneys and then excrete them out. Sometimes things even like joint pain and headaches and soreness and all this stuff builds up inside of our body because we're dehydrated and we're not effectively using the system that God gave us in our kidneys to filter that stuff out. Yeah.
I agree. And I think that, even just making sure that our kids are paying attention to how much water they're drinking and encouraging that. We have water bottles that we take with us, and just on days that I fill those up with electrolyte and water and set those out, not only do I do less dishes of cups and things throughout the day, but they're more apt to drink it. They love electrolyte waters. They call it electric water, which is so cute, and I hope they never realize. But it is just a good way to make sure that they are getting that hydration as well, because they're busy, they're going, they're doing things. So a lot of times it can often get missed, for sure.
And I've touched on this a second ago, but that's a question that comes up. It's like, well, my 6-year-old weighs 50 pounds, how much water do they need? That's the best rule out there that we found, is the half your body weight in ounces of water, or I will give the caveat of non-caffeinated beverage, right? So like at least, it could be water or electrolytes or things like that, but we don't want to just plug in sugary juices and milk and all this kind of stuff. For us, anything like that the kids have, that's not in addition to their water and hydration requirements for the day. So,
and I will say, I don't measure the kids' ounces that they drink. I make sure it's there and provided, and I just know that they will drink it. It's oftentimes, right before bed, if they haven't gotten enough, they're like, I'm thirsty. And then they're getting up, and it's really not an excuse to get out of bed.
Did you drink anything today?
Yeah. So I wouldn't be too worrisome on that. Just make sure it's provided and they'll drink it.
Yep. I think just make it a fun routine. Make it a thing. Hydration. Don't overlook it. It's a major pillar, major key to your overall body's health and well-being.
Yeah. And so, even with rest, like we said that a lot of time when you're resting and sleeping, and that's when your body repairs and restores itself, not only physically but mentally as well. And so when we don't get the sleep we need, it obviously impacts the mood. We get a little cranky.
Some worse than others.
Yeah. Ryan's a really crabby person when he doesn't get sleep.
Funny.
It's not even true.
Yeah. I would say rest is my hardest one. I've said that in a previous podcast.
He does. It's like, you want downtime, but then he has downtime and he's like pacing the floor. And so the only time he gets a lot of downtime is if he's actually run down and ill and under the weather, expressing health.
Do as I say, not as I do.
We're working on it. This is a big one that for him that he is working on.
I did say the other day, like, for my children, I desire for them to know what or how to rest, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't. And this is a conversation my dad and I, again, have had, and it was good. He's like, yeah, you come by that honest. He's like, because I don't know how to well either. And I prayerfully and carefully are trying to understand what true rest means. There are sleep requirements, and best science says, hey, you need roughly 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. I don't think it's an accident that God set it up that way. And the Bible tells us that, God rested. Jesus says later in the New Testament that, God made the Sabbath for man, not the man for Sabbath. And it's like, he put that forth in us so that we would actually focus our energy at least once in a while, right? Like 1 out of 7 days on God and on resting and being mindful of our time and where we're spending it and how we're utilizing our energy and all these different things. And so there's so many different aspects to talk about here within the rest pillar. But it's multifactorial. Like, yes, we need good sound sleep, but we also need to know how to rest. And so,
yeah, resting doesn't always mean sleep. Resting your eyes is what I always think of. But
I was just resting my eyes.
Yeah, but really, it can be just things like praying, deep breathing, having just moments of stillness, just sitting and not reaching for your phone to fill the void, or just being in the moment. And I think that there's a lot of true rest in that a lot of times we overlook because we just associate rest with laying in your bed and sleeping.
Being a bum,
yeah.
a bump on the log, as I always say. Like, no, that is, and rest is super important for that. We had that podcast episode a few ago. That's where we talked about like slowing down time.
Mm-hmm.
And you touching on that with our phones and things like that. We never give our brains a moment to just be and to just focus. What does my body need? What do I need right now? What's God trying to speak to me right now? Like, all these different things can be achieved by just slowing down. You said deep breathing, praying, not being distracted by some sort of a device or things of that nature. And so, I think there's a lot of different little nuanced things we can do throughout our day to make sure that each day we are resting well too.
Yeah. Like even our best friend, she has lights in her house. They are not LED, but they switch. Like, she can flip the switch and it switches to a different color, and each one is just intended for a different time of day. And
Sure.
So it's for like to help circadian rhythm. So if you go by her house at night, it will kind of have like an orange glow to it because that is the light that they use, and that really just helps them to get into that evening routine, get ready for sleep. And so just having lighting like that, limiting screen time. Of course, you always hear maybe watching a TV show may not be the best choice if your kids have, trouble then going straight to sleep after that, but just making sure that they have a good routine as well as you. And so just making sure to incorporate just different calming activities. Our girls are really into journaling right now. They don't necessarily read a whole lot or write a whole lot, but the main thing they know is Jesus and God and love and you and different people's names. And so they'll just write all of that all over their journal, which is really cute. And also for Christmas, we bought them Yodo players. And if you don't know what a Yodo player is, they are the coolest little things. You buy little cards and it's audiobooks, and so they can listen to audiobooks. We got them corded headphones to plug into it, and they have listened to them, I think, nonstop. And that is also just really good for their little brains to be doing that as part of their wind down routine. There's also like sleepy music that it plays, and it's all just super, I guess, appropriate for children, I should say. Mm-hmm. So we feel really safe letting them use that, but that's really good for their wind down bedtime routines as well.
Yeah, definitely for the kiddos. Check that out. If you parents are struggling, like Ed was saying, I don't want to pass by that. A consistent bedtime is amazing for syncing your body up with the rhythm of the sun. Wintertime is hard because it gets dark so early. Summertime is a different kind of hard because it stays light so late. And so adapting your own routine to fit that, be it the sun's up longer or it goes away faster, planning for that, knowing that, hey, melatonin in your body actually is in sync with how long the sun is up. So believe it or not, a way that you can improve your bedtime routine and your ability to fall asleep, if you struggle with that, is to actually see the sun a lot during the day. You don't have to obviously look at the sun. Please don't do that. But seeing, sunrises, watching the sun set, being in rhythm with that, not to go too woohoo, but there's science and evidence that supports that, and we need it. In fact, always wearing sunglasses. I understand if you have sensitive eyes, like Abbie has lighter eyes than I do, and so she's always noting how bright it feels like the sun is. I get that, but at times that's something that you can do. And then being mindful if the sun is down, like those types of lights, if it's high, level on the spectrum of a ton of blue light coming in, that's going to tell your body to raise your melatonin levels because it's mimicking the sun. And so all of these things are universally true, whether you're parents or children, either one, trying to get a better sleep routine or better sleep hygiene so that you are more rested when the morning rolls around. Those are some amazing things that you can be mindful of and do to improve it.
Yeah. All great things, and we want to hear from you. What changes are you going to make this week to improve not only your hydration but your rest as well for you and your family?
Absolutely. So just be thinking, what small change can you make? I always want these podcasts to be digestible and then implementable. So see what changes you guys can make. Let us know. We'd love to hear from you. See you on the next episode.
Bye.
From the bottom of our hearts, we want to say thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with someone you know and leave a review. By doing so, we're able to grow this community of amazing people just like you and raise a generation of children that know God and do His will on earth. We'll see you next time.
This is the Natural Parents Podcast with Ryan and Abbie Hukin.